This is kind of meant to give this caddy community a voice and to hopefully inspire future generations. And I felt like back to the Kobe inspiration, but kind of where I was being a caddy and then getting to join the club where I caddied 7 years ago, and then playing in member guests or different tournaments and meeting so many folks from around the country and sometimes the world. And they're like, gosh, yeah, of course I caddy. People take such pride in it. So at our club at Bel Air, there's at least 10, 12 guys that I know of that caddy. And I've deliberately not interviewed pretty much any of them because I wanted it to be about an objective community, not just some jerks in Bel Air talking about themselves. It's been really humbling, I'll tell you. Like, the people who are writing in now, our queue is rather lengthy. It's special, and just got to keep at it and keep growing our team. And whether it's podcasts or video, we don't know yet. We're exploring a lot of those things of just how do you reach the audience and how do you tell the best stories. And if we think if we do that, then we'll win.
Golf Smarter number 749 is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online activity with the VPN rated #1 by CNET and Wired. Go to expressvpn.com/golfsmarter and get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. From Caddyshack to corner office, how being a caddy has influenced some of the world's top executives.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Kai.
Thanks, Fred. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much. I don't even know how I found you. I read something somewhere and I thought, okay, now this is an interesting story, and I love these kind of stories. You've got a website called Caddyshack to Corner Office, correct?
That's
right. Is it more than just a website?
Right now, it's just a website. We haven't started to expand content too much. It's still very much in its infancy and only 5 months old, and kind of a side hustle that was inspired by Kobe Bryant's passing. But it's just telling the stories of successful people who grew up caddying and really their lives were impacted from that experience.
Well, when you're ready to do a podcast, let me know. I produce those for people. Because it sounds like great stories. I mean, that's what's so wonderful about podcasting is it's great stories. And you must come across a lot of them. In only 5 months, you must have some great stuff. Yeah,
it's been rather incredible and humbling. You know, we're fortunate. We've been able to work with the Evans Scholarship Foundation and the WGA, the Western Golf Association, and so they're really the largest organization dedicated to caddying. They have put 11,000 kids into college on full scholarship because they were kind of high character kids who caddied. And so we've been able to work with them on telling some of their stories. I mean, one woman in particular, her name is Mary Petrovich, and she is just a badass, as I told her. And she is her one of 8 children, the second oldest girl. Her brother caddied, her father died abruptly, and she's 12 years old and she starts caddying. She ends up going to the University of Michigan on a full scholarship, then walks onto the softball team, becomes the captain, goes on to have a very illustrious career in the automotive space, and then becomes an operating CEO for Carlyle Group. So, if it hadn't been caddying, then, she doesn't really know where her life would have gone. And getting to come across those stories and then disseminate them to an audience has been a real treat.
Amazing. So, how did you get to that? I mean, let's hear a little bit of your story growing up and how you got to a point where you just caddying became so interesting to you.
Yeah, the simple answer is that I was a caddy, and I helped put myself through college at USC, working at Bel Air Country Club. And
fight on.
Yeah, and it was a really incredible experience. I grew up in Phoenix, but wound up going to a boarding school in Santa Barbara and was really lucky to earn a scholarship there, and then wound up at USC and similarly earned a scholarship there for academics. And I needed a summer job. And one of my friends from boarding school, his dad was a member there and was taking us out to play 9 holes. And he was asking me what I was going to do. And I was just trying to knock out some college credits at the local community college, SMC. And he said, well, you played college golf. Why don't you, or high school golf, why don't you caddy? And so tried it, loved it, just loved everyone, meeting the members, meeting the other caddies, how it differed every day. You know, you made some pretty good money and you got to play golf for free at a really great place, which in Los Angeles is a real challenge. So for me, I kind of was smitten with the whole caddying experience. It was grueling. It was hard, but I loved the diversity of characters and the proximity to the game. And so that's how I got introduced to caddying. And then I had the idea in different forms for Caddyshack's corner office through the years. And I would, my day job is building startups and in venture capital, and oftentimes come across some media businesses and try to encourage some of them, hey, like, this is a really cool storyline in golf that maybe no one's touching on. They kind of were busy with other things. And then a movie was being produced by Lionsgate called Loopers, and they were talking about caddying. And I tried to kind of, the producer's a member of Bel Air, and he was asking for feedback. And I said, hey, consider some of these stories. You're featuring one of them, and they're George Solich, who's a self-made billionaire who was an Evans Scholar, and caddying changed his life. There's a lot of those. And he's like, I love it, but it's just too late. So really what kicked me in the ass was when Kobe passed away. He was such a prolific storyteller and a guy who loved it. And I love a good story. And so I just got so sad about it. Like a lot of people, I just felt like we should do something. And it was kind of a way to honor him and pay homage to his legacy.
Wow. I think that, and it's obvious why, that LA was, sports fans in LA were impacted greater about Kobe's death than the rest of the country. I think it just lasted longer in LA over his death, and we were all shocked, and it was just tragic, to say the least. But it's the legacy of what he's motivated people to do. And what was it about Kobe's story that got you thinking about doing something like this?
Yeah, it's a good question, Fred. The irony, I guess, is I wasn't even a big fan personally. I really came to respect him more. I was a more Michael Jordan guy, right? And not like they're mutually exclusive, but I always sided with MJ. And
not a Phoenix Suns guy.
Oh, I mean, MJ ripped my heart out when I was
I would think so.
I'm a diehard Suns guy, but you gotta tip your cap to the king, and Black Jesus for sure. He's the best. So, no, he is. And you look at someone like Kobe, though, I gained so much respect for him. Actually watching a documentary that he made on Showtime called Muse, and his work ethic was incredible. And then you saw after he retired that he was so committed to great storytelling, right? And he was trying, he won an Oscar. He wanted to dedicate these next chapters of his life to telling stories. And, that was heartbreaking. And these just happened to be stories that I knew about maybe more than some other people, and was in a position to start to transcribe. And so, I've had a pretty strong startup background. I've also had a strong content background in writing for different publications like Inc. and Entrepreneur and things like that, and been published different places. So maybe I was at the right place at the right time, and it was just a matter of doing the work. And so in watching that tribute video, when the Lakers finally came back and played after Kobe's passing, there's a line about just a matter of keeping going. And, that this is part of your responsibility. And this is kind of my box, as he put it. And I had an opportunity to hopefully contribute this to not only the caddy community, but golf, and get more people interested in golf, especially young people, and recognizing a game that we love, but also a unique job opportunity that could change their lives.
So you played golf in high school. You grew up, obviously you played golf growing up, but caddying was not in your lifestyle. It probably, I don't know. I think of Phoenix and I just think of golf carts everywhere. I don't even know. I mean, at Vegas, I had a 4Caddy.
Right.
What's the difference between a caddy and a 4Caddy? Is there a difference? It's
a good question. So some courses will have dedicated 4Caddies. So just make sure that you always can find the player's ball. When I was caddying, and most caddies, you're supposed to do both. So you carry the bags, you're reading yardages, you're reading putts, you're prepping everything, but you're also 4Caddying. So when you see two caddies oftentimes working in tandem together on a group, one might be moving farther ahead faster so that he or she can be in a position to track balls and things like that. So the difference is a 4 caddy is supposed to be out ahead, making sure no balls are lost. So if that's a sharp dog leg right, then they got to get around the corner and make sure that they can verify a ball staying in bounds.
That's something I've been laughing about to wait to see what happens on the PGA Tour with no fans. Is like, you mean these guys are going to start losing balls? This is great.
Well, there's an amazing, one of my favorite players is Koepka, and he, say he said some line about that, like, who's going to find our golf balls when we hit wayward tee shots? And like somebody responded, another tour player was like, "Welcome to our world, bro."
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, if you don't have the galleries and the processions of fans. Yeah, it's probably a lot easier to lose a golf ball. I don't know if Tiger's ever lost a golf ball in contention, right?
Exactly. Well,
I mean, I would dive into the Pacific Ocean to find Tiger's golf ball, no question.
Well, that's because you've been bred as a caddy.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you, you talk about caddying in Arizona, and I first heard about caddying because my cousins were caddies in Minnesota on Hazeltine, and they loved it, and it was a cool summer gig, and something I didn't even think about until we created Caddyshack's corner office was that in certain places like Chicago, where it's, there's no year-round golf and things like that, it's a big summer gig, and you've got these great programs like the Evans Scholars Foundations. And in Los Angeles, it's a year-round job, and it's very coveted. It's very competitive. You walk into the caddy yard for the first time, especially when you're in college, they are not your friend. They are not looking out for you. You are taking money out of their pocket, right? So, and you have to respect that. You have to understand that that's how it is, and you've got to earn your stripes, and you've got to earn people's respect. And, if there's something that taught me a lot about leadership away from, say, organized sports, it was trying to earn your stripes as a caddy.
Wow. We're talking to Kai Sato of Caddyshack to Corner Office, and we'll hear more from him right after this word from our friends at ExpressVPN. Now, every night at dinner, I'm the one who does the cleanup. My wife does the cooking, I do the cleanup. And I've learned over the years that if I just kind of do it, I don't completely finish the job. In the morning, it's like she's cleaning up. And I don't want her to do that. I don't need to be leaving any mess behind, so that maybe in the morning I'll have, hey, thanks for cleaning up, such a great job. How is that ExpressVPN? Well, it's about leaving breadcrumbs. Sometimes you just don't want to leave breadcrumbs behind that you may be doing things on the web that you don't want other people to know about or to find out about. Well, I know you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just use incognito mode? Let me tell you something. Incognito mode does not hide your activity. It doesn't matter what mode you use or how many times you clear your browsing history. Your internet service provider can still see every single website you've ever visited. That's why, even when I'm at home, especially when I'm at home, I never go on. Well, I really don't go out much anymore, but who does? But still, I never go online without using ExpressVPN. It doesn't matter if you get your internet from Verizon or Comcast, which I do. ISPs in the U.S. can legally sell your information to ad companies. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your ISP can't see the sites that you visit. ExpressVPN also keeps all your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available. Most of the time, I don't even realize I have ExpressVPN on. It runs seamlessly in the background and is so easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected. ExpressVPN is available on all your devices, your phones, your computers, smart TV, and your tablets. So there's no excuse for you to not be using it. Protect your online activity today with the VPN rated #1 by CNET and Wired, which are two sites that I definitely frequent, and I'm not ashamed of it. Visit my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/golfsmarter, and you get an extra 3 months for free on a 1-year package. That's a pretty good deal. ExpressVPN. expressvpn.com/golfsmarter to learn more on how you can protect your online visits. Now let's get back to Kai Sato. Well, as you were just talking about how they're not your friends, you're taking money out of their pocket. At what point do you start caddying and start realizing that this is more than just schlepping around these guys' golf bags, and that there were things to learn about people, not about golf, as a caddy?
It's a great question, Fred. It's instantaneous. Your first time, you kind of just get thrown out there. There's no real training. There's a little bit more now at our club, but you're just out there. And look, you go in and I think I waited 7 straight hours my first day. The next day I didn't get out at all. You go and you sign up, and there is a system, and guys have tenure, and they have what's called a call job, right? So if someone's playing and they want a certain caddy with them, they'll just shoot them a text, and those guys get priority because at the end of the day, at most clubs, the caddies are independent contractors, and the members get what they want, rightfully so, right? And so if I want a certain guy with me, he's out with us if he wants to. It's his choice. So you really do figure out quickly, to answer your specific question, it's a lot. It's all encompassing, right? I don't think there's any vantage point in sports like caddying, because you're inside the ropes, you're part kind of psychologist, and also you've got a lot of just kind of rudimentary standard things, right? You got to stay ahead in for caddy. You need to prep yardages. You need to figure out, by the way, do certain people want like the back yardage in the middle or just the exact yardage? I was caddying before there were lasers too. So you were actually checking plates, and you started to memorize those plates, which was kind of a rite of passage. And then your green reading matters. But there's a lot of it of just course management. And I don't know, I'm competitive. And so it was so fun. We've got some Nassau's on the line, or people are in big tournaments, and I nerded out. I would get there, and our big member guests, I'd show up early. I'd roll golf balls on the greens. I just wanted our players to do well, and getting to be a caddy for a team that wins was really, really special.
But caddying at a country club where people, and that's the thing that I struggle with country clubs. You're playing the same course over and over and over. Of course, you're a 3 handicap because let's go out to this dog track out here and let's see how you do there, right? You're just playing the same course over and over. And there's value in that. No question about it. Makes you feel better, makes you feel confident. But when you're playing the same courses over and over, why would I want somebody over my shoulder telling me how to read the green since I play this course twice a week for the last 10 years or more?
You'd be amazed, just how good the caddies are at reading them. I'll say some of the guys that I learned from, and still am fortunate to sometimes have caddy for me, like New York Mike at Bel Air Country Club is as good as it gets. He is the paradigm.
New York Mike?
New York's been there for almost 4 decades. He's an incredible guy and an unbelievable caddy, and just a great guy to hang with and talk sports. And he's so smart and thoughtful, but he can rake a bunker and be 25 yards away and give you a read.
Whoa.
So there's a level of expertise. You want to talk about 10,000 hours. These guys are really good at it. So yeah, you'd expect members to kind of figure it out, but the reality is some people are just not good at reading greens, right? Or hey, by the way, you don't try to hit this hero 3-wood. You get a stroke, punch it up there, make bogey it. Right? Like there's a lot that kind of goes into some of that type of stuff at times, and you want to have that companion. And George Solich, who was a self-made billionaire, started as a caddy. He has a great line, though. He said, the truly great clubs, in my opinion, you have a caddy program because it's so important. And it's this like unique symbiosis. And so, do I always play golf with a caddy? No, I love playing other tracks and all that type of stuff. I taught my college roommates how to play golf at Rancho Park's par 3 course. So I still love bouncing around, but fortunately for a lot of, at least our track, it's fun to play. You can play it every day, and it can beat you up if you miss in the wrong spots and they got the rough out and the greens are rolling. So, you should score well at your home course, but I don't know. I don't always do.
How long does it take you as a caddy to figure out what clubs the person you're looping for what club they should hit, what kind of, ball flight they have. I mean, obviously you have to learn that stuff really fast to be effective.
Yeah. You have regular loops and you adjust. I caddied in the same group of kind of 10 to 12 guys pretty much every weekend. So you acclimate and you figure out where people are, but then they get new clubs and, it does shift. But, just trying to adapt to the player. And I think that's one of the things that's been a real recurring theme in our now 11 interviews for Caddyshack Corner Office is the level of service that you learn. And our first interview, a good friend of mine, Neil Jacobson, who went on to become the president of Geffen Records and now has Hollywood Media, he cited that. He said, I learned how to serve, right? I learned how to take care of how to take care of a customer, right? And, you might have a good day, but you just got to put a smile on. And, he actually cited Rick Kane, who founded Kane Anderson and is a former caddy, now billionaire. Same deal. He said, I'm a serviceman. So, you really have to adapt. And, I think that if you go into any job, that's a really important piece, and getting along with people and adapting to their needs and trying to reach a shared outcome together. And so I think you learn that, especially if you're a teenager in your young 20s, trying to do it for people who expect to be right a lot. That's a really big piece where, where else are you going to gain proximity to a Fortune 100 CEO for 5 hours and they're reliant on the information that you provide them?
But you've got to learn their game. You've got to understand their game. Does that take you more than 9 holes to do? Can you do it in 3 holes? I mean, what kind of investment of your time does it take to figure this person out so that they will ask for you back again?
Oh, yeah. It all depends. I mean, some guys you get along with better, but as a caddy, your job is to figure them out pretty quickly. You can assess, do they have a good swing? Do they know what they're doing? Is this just kind of a fun race around game? Is this someone who's really going to take it seriously and have 9 practice swings and stuff like that? So there's a lot of, caddies are usually looking at each other, rolling their eyes. And, you always want to be out there with fun people. But yeah, you are expected to adjust, right? And like when I was reading greens for people, the biggest thing you got to emphasize is speed. Right? You can't make a putt unless you reach harmony of speed and line. So as Tiger always says, speed, speed, speed. And so you can really save people a lot of strokes, especially if they struggle with green reading or they struggle with speed, if you can just kind of get them to hit it to the right spots.
And how much of a coach do you become? And how hard is it to figure out whether this person wants your advice or your input on what they're doing wrong?
That's a very delicate line. I think that less is more.
Yeah.
And you don't want to come in, oftentimes you have really good players who are caddying and they can get a little pedantic and rather annoying. And it's back to that service thing. No one wants to be spoken down to. Sure, you might be a way better golfer than I am, but we're in this together. And so, like anything, I think that you iterate, you start slowly, and you show that you're accountable, that you're competent, that you're, hopefully somewhat articulate and a nice person to be around. And then, they'll ask you oftentimes, like, do you know the greens? Are you brand new here? Most guys say, like, at our club that maybe didn't know that I was a caddy. I ain't rushing for a lot of reads on any golf course. It's something I've always done pretty well. But at the same time, I've noticed that a lot of pros still miss reads every single week. No one's perfect. Yep. So, right. I think it's all about just adapting. And at the end of the day, you want to spend 4 or 5 hours with someone that you really enjoy.
Or as Aaron Burr said to Alexander Hamilton in the show Hamilton, talk less, smile more.
Yeah. Just watched that over the weekend too.
Oh, we all did. Yeah, July 4th weekend is when we're recording this. Let's take another quick time out. We'll be back and get some stories from you. I want to hear about some of these people that you've interviewed. All right? We'll be back right after this. Kai, you haven't been doing this very long, but it's such a great idea. So how many interviews have you published or posted on your website so far?
We've done 11 thus far in 5 months, and that's a little bit above what we were forecasting. I have a day job, so we were shooting for one every other week. And honestly, I mean, from the outset, I didn't know how many we'd get to, or how open people would be to actually doing the interviews. And it's been kind of amazing. I mean, people get emotional. They're kind of transported back to this rather transformational time in their lives. They may have had a lot going on, and whether they were forced to by their parents or they were doing it out of necessity to kind of make ends meet, it was a real coming of age time. And so some of these stories, I mean, we just did one, this guy named Bill Doyle, who's just awesome. And he caddied for 12 years at Bobolink in Chicago. And he needed to, right? He needed to pay for his own college, and he knew that from the outset. And this guy went on to run the largest fertilizer company in the world, called Potash Corp, and is now the chairman of the board of Georgetown University, took over for Paul Tagliabue. And this guy, caddied for, at one point, Chick Evans and Gene Sarazen, just 18 holes quickly on a Sunday afternoon. He caddied multiple times for Arnold Palmer. He actually misclubbed Arnold Palmer, and he talks about it. He said it was the biggest mistake he ever made. So, it's just, I think it's something that has stayed with these people. But I've been really humbled, like I've said from the outset, to get to know these people. And just like when I was caddying, what I loved is you'd meet new people and get to interface and hear their stories. And I love that. And so for me, it's kind of an extension of that, where, these people who've lived some incredible lives thus far, they're still doing a lot more. And they point back to caddying as like, hey, this is one of the first things that gave me a lot of confidence. It not only gave me money however I needed it, but I was able to help adults. I was able to provide real value to these people. So those have been really exciting. And I will tell you, there's one that right after Kobe died, Jack Welch died. And Jack Welch caddied growing up. And he spoke at USC when I was there. And I've read his books. I was always kind of moved by him. And that was another kind of kick it in the ass, let's go, because I want to make sure that we can document a lot of these stories and share them with people from them directly, not trying to transcribe it in any other form. And so there are a lot of them that we want to continue to get to. Bill Clinton caddied, right? I mean, there's so many people who they can talk about what a unique experience this was.
Wow. Give me another story. Bill Doyle, good. Give me more. Tell me, what's the most surprising pieces of information that you've received in doing these interviews?
Well, we actually, for our to mark our 10th, we started to transcribe and actually call it for caddying the 10 kind of recurring themes, right? So whether it's developing confidence, learning communication skills, making money, little things like that. But you start to see it. And the other areas we're going to add to it, Fred, there are certain industries, not just insurance or commercial real estate or things like that. But, we have three, the next one that we'll talk about, we have three of the biggest apparel brands in golf right now: Johnny O, Link Soul, and Malbon Golf, who are kind of three hot brands in very different ways, all three caddy. And so we've been able to interview all three of those guys and hear about their different experiences and what it was like. Malbon cracks me up because he's just like his brand. He's very distinctive. He prides himself on going against the grain and openly admitted to cheating as a caddy. He said, look, if I didn't cheat, we didn't win. And if I didn't win, I didn't get paid. So he's playing major cash games in Atlanta. And I love that he would come forth with that. And each one is kind of so special and unique. And talking to John Ashworth, right? I mean, John Ashworth, who founded Ashworth and now Link Soul, it was cool because he has such a unique delivery. And he caddied for Mark Wiebe on tour. And Mark Wiebe's son is an assistant pro at Bel Air, Gunnar, who's an awesome guy and a rising star in the pro ranks of teaching golf and running clubs. And he said what was really cool when he read the piece that we created on John Ashworth, he's like, I've known John my whole life, and you really kind of captured his essence, his delivery, how he dictates information. And so those have just been really cool. And the best part too, you're talking about stories. This is kind of meant to give this caddy community a voice and to hopefully inspire future generations. And so we had, Evans scholars from Notre Dame, from Illinois, from people like that immediately writing in and saying, hey, like, I just want to thank you for putting this together. I didn't know about any of these people. And so, I felt like back to the Kobe inspiration, but kind of where I was being a caddy and then getting to join the club where I caddied. 7 years ago, and then playing in member guests or different tournaments and meeting so many folks from around the country and sometimes the world. And they're like, oh, yeah, of course I caddy. Yeah. Oh, really? Where'd you grow up? Oh, yeah. And people take such pride in it. So, I mean, at our club at Bel Air, there's at least 10, 12 guys that I know of that caddied. And I've deliberately not interviewed pretty much any of them because I wanted it to be a non-Bel Air thing to start. I wanted it to be about an objective community, not just, some jerks in Bel Air talking about themselves or something like that. But it's been really humbling. I'll tell you, like the people who are writing in now, our queue is rather lengthy. It's special, and just got to keep at it and keep growing our team. And to your point, whether it's podcasts or video, we don't know yet. We're exploring a lot of those things of just how do you reach out the audience in the right way. But at the end of the day, just how do you tell the best stories? And if we think that we do that, then we'll win.
Do you see a common thread of people after they're caddying and they become entrepreneurial, that they kind of lean towards the golf industry, or just all over the map?
It's all over the map. That's yeah. There's obviously I think there are a lot of people that go into finance to some degree for various reasons, and insurance that we know, and some other things like that. But no, it's really run the gamut, and it's just people from all walks of life too. There was one guy, Fritz Corrigan, who was one of my favorite people to talk to. Ironically, another fertilizer guy, direct competitors with Bill Doyle, and yet a lot of respect between each other. A lot of respect for the fact that they both caddied. And when we talk about great stories, I mean, they had a very serious mining situation, and Bill Doyle got wind of it, sent in his rescue team because they could get there faster, saved, I think it was 80 miners' lives in Canada. I mean, and there's just, I think if there's one common theme, it's hopefully developing some sensitivity toward meeting a lot of people, having a thankless job at time, carrying 2 bags in the dead of summer. I don't know where you are. That can take a lot of work out of people. And, just kind of remembering that whether you're carrying the bag or playing golf, we're all in this stuff together. And so we're seeing those themes. And I would just say that people are sensitive to that, and they're by and large really good people.
Awesome. You've mentioned Evans Scholars multiple times. Tell me about that. Is it Evans or Evans?
Yeah. So Chick Evans was, former US Open winner, and won the amateur. And he took his prize money, and because he wanted to stay amateur status, and he started giving out scholarships. And now 90 years later, they've gotten 11,000 kids full scholarships to college. And so, for instance, they have a dedicated chapter house at Northwestern and at University of Illinois and Michigan. And so they're just an amazing organization. I didn't know much about them. So they've been this kind of natural partner for us where, we don't have to tell just their stories. We can tell everyone's, but they have an awful lot of them. And they're fans of what we're doing. And so their head of SVP of Biz Dev is a guy named Bill Kingor, who's just been great. But they're benefited by Mike Kaiser, who's been one of my favorite guys to kind of get his story out, given all that he's done in the game of golf and the golf courses, these monuments that he's left behind. So Evans are part of the Western Golf Association. And when you watch the BMW Championships during the playoffs, that is the largest benefactor of that tournament is the Evans Scholars Foundation. So they're very unique. I think, I've said it on record, and that no one has done and maybe will ever do as much for caddies as they have. It's just it's a great organization, but there are many others. I mean, there's a Sankaty Head Caddy Camp where Jack Welch was on the board. During the summer, you can go live and caddy in Nantucket, and you have
the what?
Sankaty Head. It's the golf course. Yeah, I mean, I've for some reason now I've done more research on this stuff than maybe anybody, which is my wife makes fun of me. But it's you can go, and to get out of Phoenix during the dead of summers and go, caddy. If I would have known about it, I would have tried to do it. And so you're literally in dorms, and you live there, and you caddy, and you're caddying for Jack Welch and people like that, which is pretty amazing. That thing's been around, I think, for almost as long. 70, 80 years, and I'd never heard of it. So, what we're really trying to do is just make sure that when I say give the caddies a voice, George Solich, who we mentioned, he has his own caddy and leadership program. John Ashworth, what they're doing in Oceanside, at Goat Hill Park, same type of deal, where they have a subsidized caddy program. They want to teach people about it. And then Malbin was working on something similar in Virginia Beach. So I think people who have come from this background and have had proximity to the profession believe in it so strongly that we're all finding ways to contribute. And Caddyshack to Corner Office just so happens to be mine right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you talk about country clubs, golf country clubs in this country, and images come into your mind of who those people are, right? Do Evans scholars and do you see them reaching into communities of color to try to get kids to caddy and to play golf beyond the first tee?
Immensely. Oh yeah. I mean, it's boys and girls. It's all kind of walks, and it's not just them. I mean, I think we all as a society are ever more cognizant about how important diversity is. And I was lucky to have scholarships to both high school and college, and it changed my life as much as caddying. So I think there's a concerted effort by everyone. But you look at the golf community, one thing that's starting to happen too is in Toledo, and one of the guys that we're going to be sharing his interview pretty soon is leading this. It's the first tee and the Boys and Girls Club have come together. And so that's been written about, and it's seemingly this natural fit. But look, I mean, no one in my family played golf. I started golfing because of Tiger Woods, right? And my grandparents did play, and I got a hand-me-down set of turquoise Wilson staffs. And, I was so embarrassed. I always say, I kind of looked like a Ricky Fowler wannabe when I was 12 years old, but certainly the opposite of debonair. And, I just loved the game. And I think that when you can expose any kid to it, boy, girl, inner city, outer city, it doesn't matter. As you've experienced, Fred, it once you get bit by the golf bug, it's kind of lifelong. And what I think we're trying to focus on is how do you help people understand some of the benefits beyond, right? There are very specific vocational benefits. Even more importantly, there's just life lessons, right? There are things that you learn an awful lot about yourself when, hey, someone's being a jerk to you, or they stiff you, or whatever, or the exact opposite. And, Jim Nugent, who writes the Global Golf Post, I thought he had a really great line in our interview where he said, I just learned that I didn't want to be a jerk. And, I think that if you can do anything that helps teach a lot of us that, then we're doing the right stuff.
That's so good. That's good. Tell me, what's the future of caddying in this country?
I think it's a great question. Golf in and of itself is always looked at as an elite sport. There are high barriers to entry, and I get it. I mean, I was someone who was looking at the sport from the outside in for a lot of my life. I do believe strongly that you always want to have a caddying program because of these ancillary complementary benefits that all work together hand in hand. So, and that's not just young kids caddying. I think it's a great profession for a lot of people. And so, I'm hopeful that people will keep supporting it. And I think that most of the clubs will. Doesn't mean that you can't go out with your buddies and rip around on a golf course. I don't think so. I love doing that too. I mean, someone's got to hold the drinks, but at the end of the day, I think that it's really, really important to think about this aspect of the game, which has been fundamental to the game really since its inception. And I don't think that that's going anywhere. And I'm of the belief that golf has a bright future, and I think the caddying is no question going to be a part of it.
Wow. Well, best of luck, man. It's caddyshacktocorneroffice.com is the website. There's 11 interviews there now. 12th one's arriving any minute, so just keep your eye on it. Kai Sato, thank you so much for doing this, for sharing this story with me. This is just crazy stories, and I love crazy stories, and you win.
Thanks for having me, Fred. This is really special. Thanks for all that you do.
Recently in this segment, I've been reporting, let's call it gloating about my game lately. Today I received an email from Don in Michigan asking what it is that I've done to improve my skills and drop my index. Thank you for your note, Don, and I did write to you. Did you get my email? But I'd also like to expand on the answer just a touch for all our friends here in the Golf Smarter community. Yes, I have been shooting some, at least for me, outlandishly low scores. Of course, I would like to take all the credit and give none of it to the changes in course conditions or local rules during the pandemic that have seen these extraordinary scores, but it's definitely a combo of the two. Actually, last week, one of my regular playing partners mentioned that I was a creative player. Oh my gosh, that was such a huge compliment to me, and also probably part of why I am playing better. I practice and try to get comfortable with shots that aren't sexy. When I'm on the driving range, I'll work on shots that I just know they're going to show up during my round, like hitting the ball low to keep it under trees, or even half swings without adding a lot of tension, right? And I also spend a lot of time on my short game inside of 40 yards. Now, when I first started the podcast years ago, my index was around 17. At that time, my goal was to eliminate triple bogeys, limit the doubles, and if possible, play par golf or bogey golf. Today, it's more about accepting the occasional triple, but not dwelling on it. Eliminate those doubles and try to keep my game at par, achieve more up and downs, and if at all possible, sink more birdie putts. But the two top pieces of advice I can provide that has worked for me is, one, golf smarter. Really, it's not just the name of the show. You've heard me say it. Focus on course management and stay within yourself. And most importantly, I try to keep my ego in check by reminding myself of a tip that was provided to me by a listener when we were playing together years ago, and that is, never follow a bad shot with a stupid shot. Keeping your ego in check. And, you know, what did we hear recently from our good friend Glenn Albaugh? The perfect swing is the one you trust. But then there's the other parts of it that you've got to take care of, and that is course management and not following the bad shot and not having your ego take over. And even though I am playing better, I still lose golf balls. I may only lose one ball during a round and not losing like 4 or 5 balls, which is an average number for mid-handicap golfers. Well, that's why you need to register for our next giveaway. Good segue, huh? A dozen Eagle quality, hand-inspected, sanitized premium used golf balls. Sanitized premium used balls of your choice from twoguyswithgolfballs.com. To win, go to golfsmarter.com and click on the prize giveaway banner at the top of the homepage. Deadline to enter is midnight Pacific Time, Sunday, July 19th, 2020, 3 a.m. Eastern Time. I guess that's Monday at 3 a.m. And we'll announce your name as the winner on episode 750 next week. Now, this week on Golf Smarter Mulligans number 65, our guest is Lynn Anderson, a Titleist Performance Institute certified instructor focusing on increasing your golf performance with in- and off-season workouts. Here's a taste of what she had to say. How do you feel about Pilates?
I do it myself. Yep, I love it. I think it's great. Again, I do have some issues. Not every general population can just jump in a Pilates class and go through all that. So I would advise getting a screening. They'll help you, let you know what you shouldn't be doing and why and all that. But yes, Pilates is excellent.
And what about yoga?
Yoga is absolutely great, too. I've done some yoga, and to me that's a little bit more the mental and getting within, which we know as golfers is very important. We got to be able to turn our mind off and turn it on, turn it off.
Do you find one being a better or more difficult discipline to adhere to than the other?
You know, I think people individually are going to find one harder over the other, not across the board like that.
That's episode 65 of Golf Smarter Mulligans, coming out this Friday. Now, Golf Smarter Mulligans has been created because so much of the content that we have is valuable no matter when you hear it. And a lot of it is just no longer available from any podcast app. So I wanted to share them with you again. Both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are free and available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Hear new episodes of Golf Smarter each Tuesday and Golf Smarter Mulligans every Friday. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, use @GolfSmarter on social media or just click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.